I've now got the pleasure to hand over my duties to Wade Merritt, who's a graduate of the University of Maine, but more importantly now, he's, I think, the Deputy Director of the Maine International Trade Center, and he's going to introduce the afternoon sessions and the chairs. Wade.
Thank you, Stephen. Wade Merritt, Vice President of the Maine International Trade Center, and as Stephen mentions, a proud graduate of the University of Maine, and actually have a minor in Canadian Studies, and first ran into Stephen Hornsby as a young undergraduate in 1994. I can't believe that. And I was actually reminded of that this morning by a friend of mine on Facebook who saw that I was here and reminded me of a certain trip to Ottawa in 1994, where Professor Hornsby reminded us all that the Canadian American Center does not provide bail money. This was a quote that has stuck with me throughout the 20 years of my career at the International Trade Center. So it's my honor and privilege to be introducing this afternoon's sessions. I also want to be sure that I introduce, you've all heard about Dana Eidsness, who's going to be chairing the 3 o'clock session, or the whatever time session, the next one, not this one. Also joined by Tom Conley, who is also a UMaine grad, and I think a Canadian Studies guy too. He's over there sitting over there at the table, so if you have a chance, be sure to say hello. As I said, it's a pleasure to be back on campus. This has been 20 years for me. Prior to taking the reins as VP of the International Trade Center, I was actually served as our Canada Desk Director for the Trade Center for about 10 years. When I was here living and working in the Bangor community. It's great to see such a wonderful turnout. This is not the first time, of course, that we've done something on Canadian-American trade, but I think this is really the first time that we've kind of zeroed in on a specific topic, on a specific industry sector. And I think this is definitely the model for us moving forward, to talk about specific ways in which we can collaborate. Those of you who were at dinner last night heard from Neville Guilfoy of Progress Magazine in Halifax, who really talked about how we've spent the time talking about, well, we should be doing more with Atlantic Canada. We should be really thinking about how we can partner, but we never really got down into specifics about, okay, here's an opportunity and here's how we do it. And I think a program like today's, where we can really dig in on an issue, I think that's exactly what we've needed to do for quite some time. And thank you all for being here. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to a good friend of the Trade Centers and someone I've worked with for quite a few years, Erin Donahue. Erin is a trade commissioner with the Canadian Consulate in Boston, who's responsible for the defense, aerospace, and ocean technologies industries. I can't possibly believe I'm saying this, but Erin's been with the Consulate since 2005, but there you go. So we've been working together for quite some time, having held a variety of positions within the consular section and also with international business development. Prior to taking on defense and ocean technologies, she was responsible for seafood and aquaculture, so she knows from which she speaks today, chairing this panel. She assists Canadian companies looking to export and looking for partnership opportunities with American companies, specifically those located here in New England. Erin, if you could join us, and then Erin will introduce the rest of the panel. Thank you.
Thanks, Wade. And my thanks to the folks at the Canadian American Studies Center, as well as the Maine International Trade Center, for helping put this on today. It's fantastic. And personally, being that I am responsible for ocean technology at the Consulate, this is ideal for me that we have drilled down to this specific level, talking about industry opportunities and collaboration. It's an irony that I'm a government official and they have me talking about ocean science and ocean observing. So I would love to introduce our panelists, who are much more knowledgeable in this area than I am. To begin with, Dr. Neil Pettigrew, who is a professor of physical oceanography at the University of Maine, director of their physical oceanography group, the UMaine Ocean Observing System, and UMaine Autonomous Surveys. So, Neil, you want to come join us? To be joined by pinch hitting today, and my thanks because his colleague had to drop out last minute, George Kendrick with Stantec. George is a principal consultant at Stantec, and he leads the firm's renewable energy group. He has worked on offshore energy projects such as Cape Wind, as well as numerous marine projects in the Gulf of Maine. And finally, from the technology development side, I'd like to introduce Doug Schillinger from RBR Limited. Doug heads up RBR's Atlantic office, so he's based out of Halifax. And I know we have some Dal folks in the room. Doug actually began his career at Dal University.